Waking on a cliff edge, the first sensation wasn't the usual chill of the morning air, nor the distant cry of gulls. It was the hard, smooth press of something utterly unexpected against his cheek. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't greeted by the dew-kissed grass or the vast, familiar expanse of the sea. Instead, he saw stones. Smooth, gray, perfectly rounded river stones, meticulously arranged in a flawless spiral, and it was right around his sleeping bag. His first thought, as his mind struggled to make sense of the sight, was that it must be a prank. Perhaps a fellow hiker, having arrived in the pre-dawn hours, decided on a whimsical greeting. But as the fog of sleep lifted, a cold, unsettling realization began to dawn. He had meticulously cleared this spot the previous evening. He was particular about his campsite, always leaving no trace, and certainly no trace of a perfect stone spiral. This intricate pattern, this silent sentinel, simply wasn't there when he lay down to sleep. Yet now it encircled him completely, an inexplicable geometric embrace. He shifted, the nylon of his sleeping bag rustling softly, and slowly pushed himself into a sitting position. The outermost ring of stones lay just a foot or so from his head, forming a precise boundary. The perfection of it was almost unnerving. Every stone seemed identical in size, every curve of the spiral mathematically precise. He reached out a hand, tracing the cool, smooth surface of a stone, then pulling his hand back as if it might burn him. He pushed himself up to stand, careful not to disturb a single stone. He stood there, barefoot on the cold, damp earth, gazing down at the artistry that held him. Then, with a growing sense of unease, he tried to step over the line. His foot met an invisible barrier. It wasn't solid, not yielding, yet utterly uncrossable. The sensation was akin to pushing against a cushion of air, but one that was absolutely stubbornly impenetrable. He tried again, pushing harder, leaning into it, even sliding his hand along what felt like an unseen wall. Nothing. His hand, his foot, simply wouldn't cross the boundary. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at him. He was on a remote cliff, miles from the nearest road, no one around for miles. He was trapped, inside a spiral of stones, on a vast open cliff face. The sheer absurdity of the situation was overwhelming, bordering on the surreal. He paced the small circle his sleeping bag occupied, a mere few steps, his mind racing, searching for a logical explanation, a way out. Was it a hallucination? Some strange effect of the dew, the morning light? He pinched himself hard. He was awake. This was real. The initial fear, intense as it was, slowly began to recede, giving way to a strange kind of bewildered calm. What else could he do? Yell? Scream? There was no one to hear. He sank back down, crossing his legs, facing the vast expanse of the ocean. He watched the sun climb higher, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape. He felt the steady, cool caress of the wind, heard the distant, mournful cry of gulls carried on the breeze. This forced stillness, this unexpected confinement, began to shift something within him. He had come out here for solitude, for a respite from the relentless rush of everyday life, to clear his head. And now, solitude had been amplified, intensified by this bizarre, inescapable boundary. He found himself simply sitting, observing. He started to notice details he might have otherwise overlooked. The subtle, ever-changing hues of the sea, from deep indigo to shimmering turquoise. The way the clouds drifted lazily, forming fleeting shapes. The intricate, mossy patterns on a nearby rock face. The spiral, which had initially felt like a cage, slowly began to transform in his mind. It started to feel less like a prison and more like a frame, isolating and highlighting the raw beauty that surrounded him. It demanded his complete, undivided attention to the present moment, to the small world he now inhabited. Hours passed. He didn't try to escape. He didn't even think about it. He simply was, within the spiral. He ate a small granola bar from his pack, sipped water from his bottle. He closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face, the cool whisper of the wind against his skin. He breathed deeply, letting the vastness of the ocean, the silence of the cliff seep into him. When he opened his eyes again, the world seemed sharper, clearer. A profound sense of peace had settled over him, displacing the frustration, the panic, the desperate need to escape. All of it had dissolved, replaced by a quiet acceptance. He looked down at the stones. They were still there, perfect and unmoving, reflecting the morning light. He took a deep, deliberate breath, and then, without conscious thought, without effort, without the slightest intention of trying to get out, he simply stepped forward. And this time, his foot landed on the grass outside the spiral. No resistance, no invisible wall, just the soft crunch of dry earth beneath his boot. The stones remained untouched, pristine, a silent, enigmatic testament to an experience that defied logic. He stood there for a long moment, looking back at the spiral. It was never about a physical barrier, was it? It was about a different kind of boundary, a boundary of the mind, of perspective, of his own internal landscape. He had been trapped not by the stones themselves, but by his own expectations, by his own need to control and understand, by his own internal resistance to the inexplicable. The moment he surrendered, the moment he embraced the bizarre reality, the moment he stopped fighting and started simply being, the barrier ceased to exist. He packed up his camp, slowly, thoughtfully. He left the stones untouched, a natural, inexplicable monument on the cliff. The experience on that cliff, waking inside the spiral, reshaped something deep within him. It taught him about the subtle power of acceptance, the unexpected freedom found in stillness, and the surprising ways the universe can nudge us to a different path. Sometimes, the greatest escapes aren't about breaking out of a physical space, but about breaking through our own internal walls. And so, as we reflect on this intriguing tale, I invite you to ponder, have you ever found yourself in a situation that felt like an invisible spiral holding you in place? What did it teach you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found yourself captivated by this story, please consider subscribing for more tales of Talix After.